Hi everybody, this is Baarda here. We're standing in a durum wheat field in southern Alberta, south of Bow Island. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about our glyphosate resistant kochia project. So what we've been doing for this project is we've selected a few fields here in southern Alberta that have major issues with kochia, and we've been working in the same field year after year, trying to use targeted control measures using precision agriculture and whatever tools we have to combat resistant kochia. So if you look behind me, obviously we do have some major issues with kochia in this field. Kochia tends to manifest itself in patches, and that's why it lends itself quite well to site-specific or targeted controls. So if we look kind of in this area, we're standing in a piece of the field. It's an irrigated field, but we're standing in the dry corner here. So this is sort of where the crop is less competitive. If we pan over a little bit more, we'll start to see some bare ground. There's also some salinity here, and that's exactly where kochia likes to thrive. So these plants, they're salt tolerant, they're resistant to drought, and when there's no competition, that's when they really thrive. So we're in 2021 right now. It's been an extremely hot, extremely dry year. And we're seeing, not just here, but across southern Alberta, the kochia really has been competitive. I'm seeing fields all over. I've seen kochia like I haven't seen over the course of this project. So this is what we want to deal with. We want to attack, these patches and get rid of them, with precision ag. So what we've done this year, we're using herbicides that can help us target kochia, and we're applying them where they need to be applied. So in this field, there are areas where there's just crop, there's areas where there's kochia patches. So what we've done is we've taken a drone, a UAV, we've flown it over the field right around this timing, so we can identify where the kochia is, where the seeds are likely to land, and then either this fall or next spring we'll apply an appropriate herbicide. In this case, because Authority is now registered for spring wheat and durum wheat at a lower rate than maybe you would use for peas, we've applied that where we think kochia is going to come up, and we've seen some efficacy there. So in some of the saline areas of this field, the corners and the edges of the field, there's a canal along the edge, so there's a bit of saline seep. And that's where the kochia really is getting established in this field, our biggest patches. So one thing we tried this year was to seed a salt-tolerant forage, but it really didn't take off. And one of the things that was challenging in this particular instance is that this field is for seed production, so that limited our options for a forage mix or a salt-tolerant mix. We couldn't have anything that was going to head out or be any cereals that would sort of contaminate our seed production because we wouldn't have proper isolation. And because of that, that limited our ability to use Authority with our salt-tolerant mix. So just one of those unique pieces. In each of the fields we work with, there's unique challenges, unique solutions, but we're trying to use everything in the tool belt to sort of combat this kochia. The risk for kochia comes not only from in the field that we're standing in, but also kochia can come in from neighboring areas. So anywhere, often non-agricultural land that isn't properly maintained. In this case, we have a field across the road that also has some issues with managing kochia. So that becomes a risk for this field as well, because those kochias can mature, break off, tumble into this field, and regardless of whatever work is done here, that poses a risk for future populations of kochia. So even when we do a good job of managing things in our area, it's sort of a community effort. We need to sort of work together, with the neighbors, with municipalities. The oil well sites are also a big risk, power poles, all these things, and we're seeing in our fields that's definitely a risk for establishing a patch and a seed bed that can spread into the field. We're here, it's late August. This field will be harvested probably fairly soon. It's quite mature. So as we harvest the field, a lot of these patches of quite mature kochia. So this kochia is past the point where herbicide is really going to be effective unless we're using extreme rates or extreme scenarios with it, but cutting it is going to help manage these seeds. So the seeds on these kochia plants are probably a month or so away from all being mature. So we don't really have a good idea when the seeds are viable, but you know, October we know they're for sure viable. Probably getting into September, we're starting to be at risk of the seeds being viable. So we're going to want to be controlling these plants as soon as we can. So if we're harvesting the field soon, they'll get cut down by the combine or the swather, and that'll help to manage things. But in some of these field edges, if we don't manage those while we're harvesting the field, we may want to come in with some extra control measures. So cutting, tillage, you know, kind of whatever works to sort of damage the plants so they're no longer viable, so those seeds aren't adding to the seed bed for next year. Right here, this piece of the field, this is an area of the field that is perpetually saline, perpetually, year after year, crops don't grow here, kochia gets established here. So what we decided to do this year is try to establish a salt-tolerant forage crop here, so that we'd have some crop competition and maybe sort of combat that kochia, sort of, you know, give it something to compete against it. Maybe it doesn't get established as much. As you can see, it really didn't work out very much this year, and so perhaps it's more saline than we expected, and these salt tolerant forages didn't really establish. What was a little bit tough with this is we didn't want to use a wheat, any cereals in that mix. Because it's a seed crop, so we didn't want, you know, those heads and having isolation issues with the crop. But what we found in this field and another one is there's a bit of a risk here in trying to establish this forage, because had we not, because we were trying to establish this forage crop here, we did not spray authority in this area, which would have actually done a pretty good job of keeping the kochia down for much of the season, certainly into July anyways. So because we didn't apply the authority and we didn't get that cover crop established, it actually becomes a pretty high risk area for the field. So something to really think about, you know, when thinking about some of these other options for managing kochia is, you know, what's the best option for your field, for your scenario, and depending on, you know, how saline it is and what your crop is, you know, these things do kind of change. So. We did talk a little bit about some of the risk areas for kochia to become established in the fields, such as well sites, power poles, pivot centers, all these things. And we've got another one right here, and this is the edge of the field. We've got a ditch that, you know, sometimes may have water in it, but you can see how this kochia has gotten established right on the edge of the field, and it's really tough to find a way to manage that. You may not be able to spray close to the waterways, and may be tough to get a mower in. Certainly, you know, it just hard to sort of manage, you know, the kochia on this field edge. And if we don't manage it, this is exactly the sort of high risk, you know, established kochia stand that's going to contaminate the rest of the field, you know, this fall and over the winter. So it is important to find a way to manage that. So just wanted to point out, you know, another one of these major risk factors that can make a big difference. And this year, with it being so dry, so hot, I'm seeing, you know, kochia all over the place: railway tracks, field edges, dry corners. So yeah, something to keep in mind, to consider, you know, what's a good way to control some of these risk areas.